evening. This is VNG with the VNG Project, and I am back for part 2 of the previous discussion, and it's mainly on emotional health and where we start when it comes to getting ourselves right or getting ourselves emotionally healthy instead of just focusing on the physical. So in the previous video, I touched on negativity and how to separate yourself from it, but coming from a standpoint of it coming from the inside, dealing with it from the inside. So this video I'm going to be talking about or sharing my experiences on how to deal with negativity from the outside. And when I say negativity from the outside, it doesn't necessarily mean only with people. But just you find yourself in a negative situation, it's not something from within, but it's just you're just placed in a negative situation. How do you handle things like that? Usually for me, the way I deal with negative situations is if I find myself in a place where there's just too much negativity in terms of how people see things. For example, they're not aiming directly at me per se, but they're just the outlook on things. If I find myself in that space where I feel like the outlook of things or what's happening around me, not necessarily people that I know, but just things that's happening around me, it's just plain negative. The vibe is just not positive. Normally in cases like that, I will step away. I have to separate myself. Because if I don't do that, I will find myself feeding or having that thing feed into me, or the situation feed into me or into my attitude. And then before you know it, it's just like a domino effect. It starts to affect other parts of my life. And I don't want that. And so what I've experienced or what I've been doing is if I find myself in a situation like that, I will remove myself. And to be more practical, this is what I'm talking about. If I go to like a function, the people there at the function probably don't know me, one or two people I know or whatever, but then everything around me, everything that has been discussed is just plain negative. The spirit in the room is not uplifting. People just down, people just talking bad stuff, either about the economy, about politics, whatever. If I find myself in that space and I can get away from that space, I am gonna leave. I am definitely gonna leave. If I'm in a situation where I can't leave because maybe I went with a friend or whatever the situation is, then I leave mentally. I mean, I physically get up and step away from the room or whatever, but I leave mentally. And what I mean when I say I leave mentally, I focus on positive things. I start to think on all the positive things. If it could be, the good things about my kids. Maybe I had a fun day with them the day before, or I had a very awesome experience with work, or I'm working on a project that I can't wait to complete. I leave mentally. I would focus on that during that space in time where I'm sitting in this negative atmosphere. I will focus on all the positive things I can possibly focus on and keep a smile in my heart, and just be a part of the crowd, but my mind is totally somewhere else. And when I find myself doing that, I realize that the atmosphere does not interfere with my mental state, and I'm still grounded when I leave that place. So that's how I deal with negative atmosphere. Now, when it comes to dealing with negative people, some people just will complain about everything, no matter what. No matter how good a situation may be, they will pull at that negative thing out of that good just to make it negative. And what I've come to understand from just experiences with people is that if you love someone and you truly care about them, you will always find the good in them. And I'm not saying that you're not going to point out when someone has done wrong and hurt you, or recognize that. I'm not saying don't recognize that. I'm not saying be a fool. I'm just saying love people. regardless. Sometimes you may not understand people's reasons for doing things, or behind. Sometimes I don't even understand my own reason for doing some things. But like I say in my first video, because I've already realized who I am, and I've chosen to love myself regardless, treat the next person the same way. Love doesn't necessarily mean stoop low and be a doormat. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can love someone but still have them respect you and still respect them. And sometimes you don't have to be best friends with the world. You can choose who you want to be close with. You can choose who you want to share certain things with. You have that right to make that choice, just like the next person does. And so when you find yourself around negative people, especially when it comes to people that you're close with, you have to know how to love them through it, but still respecting them though. And let them make sure you establish that boundary, or you establish that platform where you can respect each other. And when you realize that you've come to that place where you cannot find that common ground to respect each other, then maybe it's time to step away. Maybe it's time to step away from that relationship. Maybe that relationship is not good for you, or good for the next person. So sometimes it's good to take a break and see, how maybe things could come back together if it's meant to be. And so that's how I've chosen to deal with negative people. I don't want that to feed into my soul or to my spirit. And I'm learning how to deal with that, because sometimes you're very close to people and they hurt you real bad. They hurt you real bad, and sometimes it's hard to get over it. And I understand that, because I'm sure we've all have been in that place at some point in our lives. But then you got to be able to get up from that place. You got to be able to get up from that place, think about it, and see how it's going to benefit you if you continue to be mad. How being mad or staying mad at that person is going to benefit you. What good can you get out of it? Really, to be honest. If you want to be honest about it, think about it. What good would you get out of being angry at someone for the rest of your life? How is that going to bless you? How is that going to make you a better person? So you get to that place where you get over the hurt and you start to love again. You start to trust again. You don't say, because this one person hurt me, so I'm just going to give it all up. And you start to love again, you start to trust again. And this I'm talking about has nothing to do with male and female relationship or any sexual relationship. It can just be a platonic relationship, a plain, clean friendship. That's what I'm talking about. But just negative people in a sense. But also, I'm not going to say it doesn't affect relationship with, with a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. But I'm just talking about negative people, or people who've hurt you or whatever the case is. Just the whole idea behind this message really is how to not let negativity or negative situation or negative people change you. You can only be responsible for what you do. You cannot be responsible for the next person's action. And so take some accountability. Take some responsibility for what you choose to do. You can choose to not fall into or feed into whatever that person brings your way, but you can choose the positive out of it. But I'm still saying though, this is in a way saying that you be a fool. That's not what I'm saying. But you can still respect people with, regardless of their choices. You can still love them. You don't have to be best friends with everybody. You don't have to have everybody under your umbrella. You can have a very few niche of people that you feel comfortable with, that you think you guys have the same vision, you share the same ideas, the same mindset, and you can have those people as your close niche and work within that you can work within that arena. But then understand that people, even in that close circle or whatever the case may be, they have the right to make choices too. Nobody owes the next person nothing. I don't owe you to tell you details about myself. You don't owe me that either. But if you bring that up to me, I should see that as a privilege. I should see that as, you know, a great thing, a great bond, a great relationship that, I should respect that.